I was recently on YouTube, and I saw this video of this. I guess this. Well, there was this guy. It was a video of another podcast, and I guess by this time this clip is probably pretty old, but I saw this guy on this YouTube video, and he was essentially debating this Catholic woman. And so what they were talking about was, I think they were talking about monogamy in a general sense. But there's this one part of that clip that really just like piqued my interest, and she basically broke this dude down. Now, who was the guy? I don't know his name. I've seen him around before in a couple other videos and things like that. So he's one of those red pill guys, right? So and if you don't know what the red pill movement, if it's still a movement, whatever it is, like if you don't know what the red pill thing is, it's basically, well, first it gets its name from, like, on the Matrix, where Neo had a choice between picking the red pill or the blue pill, and the blue pill basically kept him veiled, and he didn't understand, like he basically stayed a part of the Matrix, and he didn't really understand the background stuff if he continued with the blue pill. And if he went with the red pill, everything was like revealed and opened up to him, and his eyes were opened, and it was like this whole point of realization. So that the red pill movement is like a hyper masculine movement, I guess. I'm not sure what it is now. That's what it was then. It was part of the, what they call the manosphere, right? And they caught some heat over the years, where it's like a whole bunch of different dudes, like I guess people were saying like incels were a part of them and everything like that, and whatever. But it essentially is a male centric movement that purports to promote the success of men and teaching men how to be manly. I guess that's the best way I can explain it, right? Because there's some weird parts to that movement, and let's be honest, like when we're talking about a movement, any movement ends up becoming like kind of a caricature of itself, right? It becomes almost silly, like it's a cartoon of itself now. And it happens with almost every single movement, where they start off with a certain set of ideas, and then they become something else, and it always ends up leaning towards some extreme, right? So this movement, again, is no different, right? So here's this red pill guy sitting there, and the topic was monogamy. And basically, what I got from what he was explaining was that, like, he can't settle down with one woman, and he doesn't see the issue with not doing that, like with not being monogamous, I guess, or whatever. But the main thing was with the Catholic woman that was there. She was asking him questions, and like you could tell, like he was pretty like annoyed by her, right? And the thing about it is, she asked some very logical questions, and she did it in a way that was, kind of like elegant. She was like operating in her full force femininity, right? Like, and he was just so triggered by her, and it was just funny, because basically she basically asked him, like, if you could be disciplined in this area, that area, like in your business and fitness and all of these other areas, why wouldn't you be able to be disciplined in that area of relationships and being monogamous, and staying with one woman and being just with one woman, right? And he basically, like, I mean, his whole frame was kind of messed up from the beginning, right? Because then he started to get really emotional about it, and it's just like, while saying he wasn't triggered, and it's just like, come on, man. Right? Like, we could tell you were triggered. We could tell that this got under your skin. But it was like, the question is why? Why did it get under your skin so much? Right? So let's leave that there for a second, right? Let's backtrack, right? Because there's this thing I've noticed about these red pill guys, right? It's just like, and it's just, you have these red pill guys and they have these little, I guess, statutes of the movement that's still there, right? And they and they often will cite, like, it's not in our biology, like it's not in a biologically best interest or something like that, and it's not how evolutionary biology works. And it's just like, okay, I mean, that's cool, whatever. So it's just like, so you want to stay with multiple women? I mean, like, I don't get that. Doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense, right? And it's just an interesting idea that these people line themselves up with. And I just found it, I don't believe in coincidence again, but I think it's very coincidental that a lot of those statutes are definitely like anti-feminist. And then I just noticed, I looked at, like, just the different ideas and different things that have been pumped up by feminists, right? And it's the exact opposite of what these red pill guys are pumping up. So it's just like, it's almost as if the red pill guys are on one extreme and you have like radical feminists on the other extreme, and they both need each other. Because if one didn't have the other, right, like it's almost ironic, right? Because a lot of the statutes that these red pill guys have that they list out are the very same reason why radical feminism kind of blew up in the first place, right? And so it's just weird. It's just weird, right? Because it's like you have these dudes saying, talking about like, hey, look, as a man, you got to be this, that, and the third, and women bad, blah, right? And then you have radical feminists over there like, men trash. Look, this is how you should really be. Don't get married. What is? I mean, it's laughable to me because they're both wrong. Right? Like, and they're both on the extremes, and they both need each other. So it's just, I find that very interesting. It's very interesting to me, right? So back to this, right? So the guy was sitting there, and I mean, he was really, like, honestly, he was like pseudo intellectual, right? Because he was explaining how, like, it's almost like he was trying to explain the ways of life, right? Like, this is how life really goes, young Catholic woman, that you don't really understand any of the stuff in the world because you're Catholic. And it's just like, and then at that, like, honestly, his attitude made me kind of realize something. Right? It's like I kept asking the question, why? Why is it that way then? Why do you think it's that way? Why? Right? And then I noticed, like, there's this little something there where it wasn't like he was, even though he basically made it look like he was very, like, he called her annoying, he called her all these names and everything like that. And she didn't resort to name calling. But by the way, good on her. Like, that's debate 101. Like, that's good, right? Good on her, right? She maintained her frame, looked him dead in his eye, and he basically, like, turned away. Like, I mean, she kind of punked him, but whatever. We'll set that aside real quick. It was interesting that he didn't seem to have such an issue with the the ideas in and of themselves. It more so just came down to, he was the type of person that just didn't want to be told what to do. And that's interesting because it's almost as if he was mad at her and it was upset with her or triggered by her because she brought God into it. And that for me, I thought was very, very, very interesting. And she handled herself well. Like, it was, I don't remember her name exactly, but she definitely handled herself very well. And I mean, there's stuff like this on YouTube all over the place. It's interesting, right? Because where I saw this one particular clip, you can replace the people, and this thing happens quite often, where it's just like, you have these, hyper masculine, pseudo intellectual dudes sitting there talking to a bunch of females that, whatever, right? Like they're not a modern female, or they're modern females or something like that. Like, it's an interesting setup. And it's like all over YouTube, and I don't fully understand why Right? Like, I guess that's another thing, but whatever, right? So that's my random thing number one. But and I guess I want to close out. So that's the situation. But what are my ideas on monogamy, right? Like, I ultimately think to operate in your max masculinity, I think monogamy is a necessity, right? And it's kind of strange to say. And then I'll do something later on. Of course, one of the later episodes, as I said, probably too many times this episode already. But one of the later episodes, I'm gonna do like a man episode, the masculinity episode, the definitive masculinity episode, right? Because it's interesting. Like, I would think it would take more discipline, more effort, more masculinity to maintain, stay with one partner, with your, whether it be your spouse or whatever, but with one woman. Like, that to me is harder, right? Because the way things are built up nowadays, the structure that we have, in the cultural buildup that we have today, I don't want to say too much on it, but it's not very hard to not be monogamous, right? I mean, it's not, because there's more people looking for that. There's less people getting married, more people getting divorced, less people having kids. So what do you think they're doing? Does that mean there's less people having sex? No. No, it doesn't mean that at all. So it ain't that hard to go out there and not be monogamous. So, especially when as a man, things are kind of thrown at you almost every day, whether that be through media, whether that be through, like TV media, social media, whatever, especially social media. Come on now. You can block as many things as you want, but then you end up getting advertisements on silly stuff. Date this hot such and such now. Like, you got to be kidding me, right? But that's what happens. It is thrown in your face all day, every day, wherever you go. So it's not that hard. So, which is a little counterintuitive to what some of the other red pill guys say, where it's just like, well, the majority of these guys aren't they're still virgins or whatever. So there's some weird stats floating around that I never fully believed in the first place, but whatever. Maybe they're right. Okay. But I still think it takes a lot more effort, a lot more masculinity, a lot more of yourself to devote yourself to one woman, period. Right? I mean, it just, I don't know. It makes more sense that way. Because think about it. Like, it doesn't take anything to leave when things get hard. And shoot, I've been married for 17 years. So, and things have been hard in a lot of that stuff, right? It takes guts. It takes cojones to stay in the commit and be a person of your word. See, that's the thing. I get, like, especially when you're talking about like in a marriage, right? I gave my spouse my word. I gave God my word. So as a man, you stick to that. At least that's the way I see it. Now, maybe there's some nuance to this. Maybe there's some things that I'm completely missing because I've been married for 17 years. I don't know what it's like out there, and I don't want to know. But maybe I'm missing some of the context here a little bit. If you think so, hit me up. Let me know. Let me know in the comments. But that's what I think. That's where I stand right now. Concerning that, like, red pill dudes, they got some work to do, right? But we all do, right? We all do. And I can appreciate the way, this woman handled herself in that section of the debate. It was classy. That was probably the best word I can explain. Classy. While this one dude was getting triggered and getting all emo on her, she remained her. She was she maintained her frame, and she ended up being the classy one. It was awesome. It was good to see. All right, so let's get to this topic number 2.